I think the most difficult thing to study for Koreans is pronunciation.
Yeah, I think a lot of Koreans can read well, but when they're speaking and listening, there's a difference between I'm going to go to the store and I'm going to go to the store.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to the store.
They said I'm going to go to the store.
Right.
Like this connected speech is definitely not taught as much in schools, and it's pretty difficult, right?
Right.
Hey guys, how's it going? It's Sean. So today we're in Hongdae and we're asking people here living and traveling about the general level of English in Seoul, South Korea. My purpose of making this is to give my Korean students who are learning English some motivation and some feedback. I also asked people about areas of English in which Korean people consistently seem to struggle and areas in which they seem to be very proficient. Without further ado, let's begin. Hey, how's it going? What's your name? Where are you from?
I'm Izzy and I'm from Manchester in the UK.
How is the general level of English in South Korea? Honestly?
Honestly, it's way better than I expected.
Yeah.
I thought it'd be quite difficult to navigate. I don't know if part of that is just coming from China where it's been basically non-existent. So potentially anything seems better than that. But so far I've had no issues whatsoever. It's been a lot higher than I thought it would be.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were expecting it to be a lot more difficult to navigate and get around in English?
I think so, yeah. I was particularly worried about public transport just because I think it's quite difficult with the different alphabet and trying to navigate different places. But everything's been in English so far, so...
Bilingual.
Yeah. So it's not been difficult really to navigate anywhere. It's been okay, yeah.
Hi, how's it going? What's your name? Where are you from?
I'm Federico, I'm from Italy.
What brings you to Korea?
Scientific conference.
How well do you think Koreans speak English, honestly?
To be honest, not so well.
Okay.
I mean, anytime I was talking with people in the hotel and communicate with them, we managed to sort it out. But when I was asking things, the answer was not what I was asking for. Always there to help you, though English level most of the time is not here.
Hey, how's it going? What's your name? Where are you from?
Hi, I'm Victoria. I'm from Italy. It's going good.
What are you doing here?
Actually, I'm doing working holiday visa. I'm a concierge in a 5-star hotel here now.
How well do you think South Koreans in 2025 speak English?
I think they are getting better.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there is a lot of foreigner immigration in this period because of, K-drama, K-pop.
Yeah.
And I think they're doing good. They also go to 동아리.
Yeah.
Also, my boyfriend goes to 동아리 because
Is he Korean?
Yeah, he's Korean, and he told me, I want to learn English, and I think there is a much more desire to learn English in these days by Koreans, and they're doing good. They're studying hard.
Hey, how's it going? What's your name? Where are you from?
My name is Alison and I'm from France. I think it depends. The old people will probably not speak English that much, but they will still kind of try to show you, to explain to you, even though they don't speak English that much. But sometimes, you have some misunderstanding.
Oh yeah? Did you have any misunderstandings recently?
Sometimes in a restaurant with foods, sometimes you think it's just for one person. You say just one, but no, sometimes it's for a multiple person, and they don't really tell you that, but it's fine. I don't mind. It's not their first language, and it's not mine too. So so it's fine. I think with the youngest, like the young adults, I think most of them kind of can speak English.
How about if I go to France? Is it easy to communicate in English?
They don't speak English too.
Okay.
I think we're the worst country in Europe for English. So that's why I'm like, it's okay.
I understand. Hey, how's it going? What's your name? Where are you from?
My name is Luna and I'm from France.
What brings you to Korea?
I came for my 20th birthday here, it was a gift. I came to see my favorite K-pop group.
You came for your 20th birthday?
Yeah.
This is a birthday present?
Yeah.
Are you here alone? Are you with your friends? Or?
Alone.
Wow, what a birthday present.
Yeah.
That's really unique.
Yeah.
Are your parents, they just trust you, you're going to be safe, you're going to be fine? Wow, that's a lot of trust.
Yeah.
What do you think about the level of English here in Seoul, South Korea?
I feel like young people can speak English very well.
Yeah.
It's most likely aged people who can't. But I think a lot of people can speak English here.
Yeah. Hey, how's it going? What's your name? Where are you from?
It's going well. I'm Kyle from Seattle, Washington.
What brings you to South Korea?
I just came here for visiting. I wanted to go to the DMZ specifically, the border between North and South Korea. So at the hotels, obviously, it's okay. They hire people that speak English. But elsewhere, it's a little bit hit and miss. I think the younger people are a little bit better at speaking English than the older people. but still there's a bit of an accent there and it's kind of hard to understand, so I have to kind of ask for repeating themselves. And then I'm also using hand gestures to kind of like communicate better too.
Hey guys, how's it going? What's your name? Where are you from?
I'm Kennedy.
My name's Raf. We're from Los Angeles, California.
What brings you to South Korea?
We're just visiting family, taking a vacation as well, kind of just making a trip out of it.
We speak very, very little Korean. It's been pretty easy to navigate. I will say his mom speaks Korean, so that's been helpful to have somebody to guide us around. But
Sure.
for the most part, especially in Seoul, a lot of people speak English, so it's been pretty easy.
No, I think it's very friendly to English speakers. I mean, like every sign that you see, there's English writing, any like in the public transportation, the airport. And I think it's very impressive, honestly, how much people are able to have conversations with people like us from not from here, and it's
Yeah.
very welcoming and inviting, so it's a cool thing to see. It makes me wish I was better at speaking Korean or other languages too, to be honest. Like,
Yeah.
it's really cool.
성인이 되어서 언어를 배우는 게 얼마나 어려운지, 그리고 어떻게 해야 진짜로 늘 수 있는지 저는 잘 압니다. 제가 아는 모든 노하우를 25개 강의 안에 전부 담았어요. 그 강의 이름은 바로 원어민의 빠른 영어입니다. 자연스러운 발음 트레이닝, 예문 분석, 워크시트, 그리고 넷플릭스 장면 분석, 어휘 확장 레슨까지 모두 들어 있습니다. 이 강의 하나면 자막 없이 넷플릭스를 이해할 수 있게 될 거예요. 이 과정은 여러분을 안 들려요 단계에서 자막 없이도 들려요 단계까지 끌어올려 줄 거예요. 아래 링크를 눌러보시고 이 강의가 어떤 결과를 만들어 볼 수 있는지 직접 확인해 보세요. Is there something that you find though that they consistently maybe struggle with? That there's like something that's difficult for a lot of South Koreans?
In my opinion, is the pronunciation. The problem is that maybe since they grew up in Korea many years ago, there was not so English influence.
Yeah.
You know, and so also American music, there was not so present here. They are not used to listen a lot of foreign languages. I think that's the only problem.
Sure.
But then they study very hard.
Nowadays they're studying really hard.
Yeah. They are also getting good in pronunciation lately. But
Yeah.
I think the most difficult thing to study for Koreans is pronunciation.
Yeah. I think a lot of Koreans can read well,
Yeah.
but when they're speaking and listening, you know, there's a difference between I'm going to go to the store and I'm going to go to the store.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to the store.
Right.
Like this connected speech is definitely not taught as much in schools and it's pretty difficult, right?
Right.
Is there one aspect of English that you think Koreans, particularly Koreans, struggle with? Maybe it's pronunciation, maybe it's grammar, maybe
Oh
it's...
yeah, definitely
uh,
pronunciation.
You think it's pronunciation?
Yeah. Because they will still they will speak English, but with a really like strong, with still their Korean kind of talking. So yeah, pronunciation, I would say.
Yeah. Does that make it difficult to have a conversation?
No, I don't think so. Just maybe a little bit more difficult to understand, but I mean, not that hard too. So yeah.
That's all.
Difficult question as I've only been here for like 24 hours, but I think the R sound and L sound, it's really hard to tell between those two.
Great answer.
Yeah, so that's the main thing that I've noticed so far.
Yeah. Right. I think a good word to exemplify this is like a world.
Yes.
I teach English 101 to this student. He's a bit older, but when he speaks English, he does have trouble with the R and the L, especially the American R and L, because it's kind of unique compared to like the UK or Australia. Anyway.
Yeah. So
Great.
something else that I noticed too is the idiomatic expressions that we use, like all you can eat, for example, that I tried to use this morning. The person at the hotel didn't really understand that, and then took a couple tries to kind of get what I was saying. But she was like, "Oh yeah, buffet. We do buffet, so you're free to eat." So there's just
unlimited.
stuff like that. Yeah. So if we're Americans, I think we could benefit from speaking more simply to people that are not perfect at English yet.
I really do think that there's like a big difference between English spoken amongst natives and international English.
Yeah.
So like a French person speaking to a Japanese person or an American speaking to a Korean, you can't use as many, idioms and stuff like that. So you've been feeling that a lot, even in your first 24 hours.
Yeah, I just came from Japan too, and so it's about the same thing. You have to kind of speak very simply, especially because they're not used to the English speed. They're used to the English, where they're at. But if you go to America, we speak a lot faster. So I don't know if they're quite used to that cadence yet too.
Yeah, Americans do speak really fast, right?
Yeah, and I mumble a lot, so it's partially my fault too. Yeah.
A lot of people are really just there's such a hunger for this, is learning how to understand fast native spoken English, especially connected speech. I'll give you an example. Like there's a really cool scene in Spider-Man where Peter Parker is talking to Tony Stark, and he's like, you know, I tried to save those people. I just wanted to be like you. But he doesn't say it like that. He says, I just wanted to be like you.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be like you. I just wanted to be like you. And it's like so difficult for, you know, the English learners to understand that.
Yeah.
Oh, I would say for the most part, it's kind of just like pointing out things like bathroom and then pointing a certain direction, or just kind of keeping it more straightforward instead of, you know, full sentences in English. But
Okay, oh, that's so interesting. You're noticing that when you ask something, they'll respond with one word.
Sometimes. Yeah, I would say that's the only thing that I really notice. But
Yeah.
I think most people, especially in Seoul, like
Speak really well.
really well.
I agree. I teach a student right now, one of my students, and my wife too, when she was kind of learning English. There's a habit, I don't know if it's just Koreans or people from all around the world, to respond with one word. Whereas I think it's really good to practice answering stuff in full sentences, because it's just going to help you with your own language learning journey. Any language, that is.
I don't know if it's me talking quite quickly, but there's been a time, like probably once or twice, I've had to repeat things.
Sure.
And they completely get it after I've repeated it, but it's just that first... On that first try, I think they struggle sometimes. And again, that might be because I talk quite fast as a native speaker.
Do you find that Koreans are shy when speaking, or shy at all? Or
I've noticed some people, say like ordering coffee, there was one woman who was a bit like too scared to take my order, so she like nudged a colleague. That's the one experience I've had of that, but I've not really come across it massively.
do you think Koreans are shy?
Oh, not at night. Not at night. You go in Hongdae at night, they're not shy. Trust me, they're not shy. With alcohol in their blood, they're not shy. But in the day, yes, kind of, a little bit.
Okay. What helped you when you were studying English?
Watching TV shows, movies. Also, I wanted to marry Justin Bieber, so...
You did? Do you still?
Not anymore, but
What happened?
I grew up, but that's how I learned. So yeah, but most of the time that, because at school you don't really learn English that well. So
Right. Similar in Korea. Like in Korea, you learn mostly to take tests.
yeah, basically it's that. Yeah. You just learn some basic thing, but not really how to have a conversation and all. So yeah.
You had the goal of like watching movies and Netflix,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
I was watching like all day, and yeah, it worked. So
In school, we don't learn really English. Like, teachers are pretty bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What helped you with English? How do you speak English so well?
Social media.
Social media?
Yeah, TV shows.
TV shows.
Yeah.
Just watching a lot with like
Yeah.
English subtitles?
Yeah. It helps a lot, yeah.
Helps a lot. Netflix.
Yeah. YouTube, TikTok.
You think it's easy to get around? Say your mom, your dad, your friend is coming to Seoul and they speak zero Korean. Can they get around, you know, do stuff they want to do easily?
Actually, I think it's easy even if you don't know the language, because people here are really, really helpful. They really don't care about that you're a foreigner or something, but they try to help you even with gesture, you know? Yeah, especially like Italian people. My mom, when she came here for the first time, when she went around alone, she tried to do the gestures to Korea, and they were really helpful actually. They really don't care about your nationality. They try to help you as soon as they can.
I'm gonna make a
that's
joke.
amazing.
I'm gonna make a joke.
Oh yeah.
Italians are good at gestures.
Yeah, really good. And also, I've noticed Korean understand really well Italian gestures. I was shocked. I was
Nice
really
little
shocked.
synergy there.
Yeah, actually, we're really similar. I didn't know about that. I was shocked.
Nice.
Even for 성격이, like personality.
Yeah.
We're really similar.
You were in China for a week.
Yes.
Here for a day.
Yeah.
Is there anything that just screams and sticks out? Wow, this is different in the way people behave.
Yeah, it's quite random, but in Beijing, I stuck out like a sore thumb. I don't know if you know that expression, but basically they were all staring at me as a foreigner. Here, no one cares. I felt like I was famous in China, but it's obviously much more commonplace to see foreigners in Seoul. So it feels much more like you kind of blend in, even on the subway and things like that. Even looking around, if I see no other tourists, I'm not being looked at, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it feels quite accepting.
Feels more international here.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching. Did you enjoy this video? If so, please let me know in the comments down below. Once again, I'm Sean, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye. Hey guys, how's it going? So I'm here with my lovely parents, and you just spent 10 days in South Korea for my wedding. Me and my wife, we just got married, and you came to see the wedding. I'm so curious, your impressions of Korean culture, Korean people, being in Korea, Korean food. I want to hear it all. What's the first thing on your mind in terms of your impressions of being in South Korea?
I'm not sure I can distinguish totally between Korean cultures and Seoul cultures, like Seoul as a big city, because big urban places have their own vibe and energy. I have to say, I was overwhelmed by the size of Seoul, but there's many good things I observed and other things that I was pretty overwhelmed with. I thought the transportation system was fabulous and well thought out. I really enjoyed the graphic arts, and I like the juxtaposition of ancient culture and modern new construction. And I particularly like design work in things like bathrooms and floors and devices that were really well suited to human use. And as a handicapped person, I really could notice that.
I think it's really amazing how this huge metropolis was built in 75 years after the war, because all of this is very new. Really good for the people here that keeping up with technology really has made a huge difference here.
Other things I noticed, though, were very fashion conscious, and they look really sharp. I noticed their gorgeous hair.
So Koreans have nice hair.
Yes.
The men and the women.
Yes, the men and the women. And really into self-presentation of self. Not as like hippie-ish or relaxed as we notice in the States. More of a consciousness of looking the same as a group, like having a certain standard. I didn't see people like being too sloppy. I was thinking it was like Paris. People get dressed up. They're not like in their pajamas walking around, you know. We're pretty casual.
So what you're saying is there was like a shared sense of I have to look put together and neat. And so to that end, style was pretty similar amongst people.
Yeah, it was very important. Another big thing we noticed was small businesses. They have to be the backbone of the economy. There's so many. And I'm sure they fall through sometimes, but it shows a certain amount of determination, hard work, and innovation to have all those small businesses everywhere, at least in Seoul. We were really amazed at that. That's just not something we have. It was a little hard to adjust to kind of the blank face or just not really engaging with this, particularly with men, I thought. Or both.
On the street.
Yes. But we got ourselves into a couple of pickles, at least more than half a dozen times. And when approached, people would come to our rescue, even to the point of going way overboard and like calling us a taxi or walking us several blocks to where we were going and calling a friend, taking our phone and fixing things. And that's the kind of interaction that sticks with me. So that the other one just kind of, I thought, that's just something about, like they say in British culture, a stiff upper lip. You just contain yourself. And I think that we make a lot more gestures.
So I'm curious, Mom, what were you expecting? What were you hoping for when you were, looking to talk with people in the street? You were saying particularly men. You were hoping for some kind of interaction like, hi, have a nice day, or how's it going?
A smile.
A smile.
A smile, eye contact.
But instead of that, whenever you had a problem or you were lost or you asked for directions, you would ask sometimes young men or older men, and they would help you every time, right?
I would mostly ask younger people because they're not as scared of English, and they laughed more. They were just more relaxed, and maybe they're probably way more internationally connected like we are now. So it wasn't something so scary to them or so foreign to them.
You could feel that.
Yeah, we even had a few laughs with people. I'll give you an example. We had a hard time ordering things on screen. We were in a photo booth and we were doing photos and we just couldn't figure out what to do next. So I asked this young couple to help us, and the guy came in and he went like this and he pushed English. And we just got hysterical laughing because it was so obvious and goofy.
Yeah.
We just couldn't stop laughing because it was so funny. So those kind of things, I really got good impressions of people wanting to help other humans and realizing that we were lost or needy, which we were.
So you were trying so hard to navigate the Korean screens, and he just like, all right, switch it to English, and you could just figure it out.
The point was that it's right in front of you, but when you're sort of tense,
overwhelmed.
You don't
just
think
not our thing.
you don't think twice. And somebody else without calling you out. In other words, you're foolish for not knowing that all you do is push the button and translate. There's a nice sense of people wanting to help you without any kind of judgment or remarks or any of that kind of stuff. And that's great. It's very nice. People are very willing if you ask.
People actually walked you to places that you were trying to find. They would walk with you.
Yes.
That's pretty nice.
It's great.
You said something very cool. You said you don't feel afraid to make stupid mistakes here. Whereas like you might feel afraid in the US or somewhere else. You make a mistake and maybe there's that kind of fear that someone's gonna be like, what are you, stupid? It's right here, right? But here, even though you could have just pressed the button that says English, they didn't judge you, they didn't say anything. They were just, oh no, it's just right here. And you felt the warmth, you felt that they were just like not judging and just willing to help, even if it's like a quote unquote stupid question, right?
Yeah. Well, here the way of getting around is all digital. We don't have that yet.
Right.
So we're sort of like dinosaurs to some extent.
Yeah, but funny you say that. Like even when I'm walking around by myself in the subway and on the street, I see this all the time. There are older Koreans here in Seoul that will ask younger Koreans, is this the right way for the train?
Okay.
So I do see that a lot. So I think to that extent, you're not that out of the ordinary, right?
Right.
And we enjoyed the coffee. We enjoyed the coffee.
Good coffee here.
Yeah. You could
Cafe
get
culture.
We could get like really good lattes and espressos, and it was all fresh.
And things were inexpensive, including the wine. That I was surprised.
Yeah, that was nice.
You could get different wines from anywhere that are a lot more expensive in the U.S. That was good.
About shopping, what's the name of that giant market?
Namdaemun?
Yes, Namdaemun. That was entirely overwhelming for us. Just too much.
Okay.
We're not big time shoppers, but I was floored. Something that did bother me the whole trip was the packaging of like the bags and the packaging of things is superb, but wasteful because we probably threw away. I saved some in my suitcase. They were so nice, but the shopping bags are the highest quality, and they just didn't seem to be getting recycled but put in the trash. That really bothered me. So I don't know how green Seoul is or Korea yet, although I've been seeing little signs underneath corporate things that say going green or let's look to be more green, and I do think that's a good idea.
I would agree. I think like ordering from things like Coupang, which is kind of like the Amazon of South Korea, there is, I would say, an overuse of plastic, and I'm just nitpicking right now, but maybe it'll change.
That's totally true in the U.S. too. Amazon, there's just
they waste so much.
So much waste. Yeah. And it's upsetting to me, at least personally, when I don't know how to recycle that stuff or reuse it. I really have a hard time throwing it away.
Yeah, the packages are very well designed, nice graphics, and you feel like that's by itself is a piece of artwork. But at the same time, when you have so much of it, it makes you feel like a little bit weird that's being wasted.
Straight to the trash, yeah.
Yeah, and trash.
Next question. What do you think about the Korean language? What does it sound like? Is it similar to anything else? Is there a rhythm to it? Is it musical? I would love to hear your impressions on that.
I feel like it's a song. It's sing-songy. I always hear the upswing and emphasis at the end of a phrase.
Like, what does that sound like to you?
안녕하세요, like the upswing in everything. And it seemed to me a lot softer than I've heard for Chinese or Japanese. It's a softer, friendlier way of speaking, absolutely. But also intimidating.
It's intimidating.
Yeah, because I can't read the letters. They look beautiful, but...
Very easy to learn, though.
Okay.
But maybe tough for a 10-day trip.
No, it definitely, you should put your time in, and it would be worth it. And I did read up on it, and I do understand some of it, and how fortunate it is that there's an alphabet. I don't know a lot about why this was created. I know it was created by a king.
Sejong.
A king, Sejong.
He created it so that even the farmers could learn to read and write in like a week.
Hello.
That's why it was like, there's only 28 characters in the Korean alphabet, and so it's very easy to learn to read and
I
write.
see the same letters over and over again.
I think for me, I was in Vietnam for almost a year.
He fought in the Vietnam War, by the way, just for anybody watching. He's a Vietnam War veteran.
And I was also in Japan for about 2 months, recovering from war injury. I think for me, then again, I was there longer than I've been here, that it was easier for me to learn Japanese and Vietnamese because, I don't know, that's the tone, like we were saying. There's a certain way of ending a sentence or a word. And there it's more like cut, dot, 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 dot.
So Korean felt like it's harder to learn because
I think
there's...
for me, it would be harder, yes.
It felt harder.
Yeah.
You have a different opinion.
Yes. You would be able to read it more quickly. And I felt like there was repeat, like Seoul, I'm not positive, but there was always a lot of repeat.
Seoul,
Yeah,
입니다, 합니다,
There was
하세요.
a lot of repeat stuff. And if you could buckle down with that, you'd be halfway there. I think.
What Korean words do you remember?
감사합니다, 안녕하세요, Hangul and things.
Hangul?
Yeah.
Hangul means the Korean alphabet.
I know, but things related to that. There seemed like there was 3 or 4 different ways that were related words.
Hanguk means Korea.
What else?
한국어 means Korean, Korean language. 한국인 means Korean person.
There you go.
인 is person. 미국 means America. 미 means beautiful country. That's what it means. So 미국인 is American person.
Well, I didn't learn that much.
Don't think you're going to learn a lot at first, just learning a few things, the common things that you were exposed to perhaps.
I think that it made me realize how much more connected French and German and English and are to each other.
Yeah, they're the
It
same
felt
family.
Somewhat. There was different, but much easier for us because of the alphabet. We can't like read Russian, those characters, or Arabic. Arabic is like on the same level to me as.
So if you even look at like the government, they systematize and categorize the hardest language for English native speakers, and there are 4: Chinese, Japanese, Arabic, and Korean.
I believe it.
Level 4 languages takes 2,200 hours to learn.
Wow.
Level 1 language would be like Afrikaans or Dutch.
Your wife is very fluent in English, and she says things that I can't believe she learned them already in a couple years. It's just conversational English with the right usage and intonation. And I'm like, wow, how did you do that?
Yeah. Did you hear any like Korean words that were like interesting or funny to you, or just stuck out?
I thought it was interesting and funny when that parranda came into the picture, because obviously, I understood something different than what it means here.
Yeah. So let me explain real quick. The context is they were in their Airbnb and a woman came in to check the boiler or whatever, the gas, and she was looking for the veranda. But in Korean, that's veranda. But he is a Spanish speaker, so he heard parranda. And that is when someone, like a group of people do like Christmas caroling. And during, Christmas, they'll knock on your front door and then they'll sing songs, Christmas songs.
Right, and then you give them cookies.
And you give them cookies and drinks. And you were like, okay, is that what you're going to do now? And where's the veranda? Let me ask you another question. Korean food, how was that?
Very different for us. A lot of the little plates and sauces and things like that. Not too much volume. I like that. The things were like much more doable. There was an idea of a little bit of this, a little bit of that, try a little bit of this, mix a little bit of that. I don't think we have so much of that at all. We might get
one sandwich,
big slapped on steak and a potato with it, or something. And you get used to that. So there's not that variety the same.
What was your favorite Korean food?
I really was amazed by persimmons, I think.
The kam. Yeah, the persimmons. The dried ones?
Yeah, no. They were...
Fresh.
Oh, gosh, they were so good. I don't know. There's a yellow thing, like a cucumber-y kind of thing that I tasted.
Oh, the mu. So that's like the it's kind of like a radish.
Like a big radish, yeah.
Yellow radish.
I like that a lot.
Cleanser.
I like that a lot. Korean barbecue, I liked okay. That was good.
I like the idea of the barbecue with rice and
Like the barbecue
and
the steak
vegetables.
we had.
Yeah, because that's what we had at this in Philadelphia when we were there.
So you like Korean barbecue.
Yeah, it's also the presentation of it that
At least familiar enough that you
Yeah.
can approach it.
Yeah, that you're in front of the food that you're going to eat. That's cooking in front of you.
I think I did surprise myself how much I liked raw fish. I did like raw beef. It was fine.
The raw beef. Yeah.
The lettuce makes a difference.
The fresh lettuce with
Yeah,
everything.
oh, yeah.
And by the way, yes, even in the
Beautiful.
smallest shops, they would put a big, hunk of fresh lettuce on it. It really made a difference. I loved it. I don't know where they're getting it. He was thinking it was hydroponic, maybe. But it was super fresh and super good. I really thought they put together a very nice package doing that.
I think a lot of Korean cuisine is all about like how good the actual ingredients are. So like when you get Korean barbecue, if they have fresh meat and then fresh vegetables, fresh side dishes, just high quality everything. How was using chopsticks?
I'm no good.
I didn't mind. I mean,
He actually learned really well how to use the chopsticks.
I would rather use the wooden ones than the metal ones.
Metal's too heavy?
No, and it's too slippery because it's plated whatever metal is.
Yeah. But it's more hygienic though. It's cleaner.
I would say, but the wood has more of a, I think,
grip.
you can grip your whatever your meat is or vegetable better.
To me, it was a stabbing device.
You just gave up on the chopsticks.
Pretty much. In fact, this morning I used a chopstick to stir my coffee. I have to be honest, I didn't have any stir. And
That's the best way you've used it so far.
I'm okay, but I literally make people laugh because I don't know what it is, but it escapes me.
It's hard to use.
It escapes me. And I'm not that dexterous, so that's my excuse. I'm the kind that the waitress comes over and gives me a fork. And I thank you. Oh,
How did you know?
Last question. Do you think that Korea is a good place to live? Seoul.
Oh, see, that's a difference. Seoul and Korea are probably very
Agreed.
different. If you had some cash, it would be good because you could get a sweet little apartment in a nice neighborhood. If you like caffeine, you're in luck. Yeah, I think I'd like to try it.
Especially younger people.
Yeah, I'd have to lose 30, 40 years. But because there was such a nightlife, everything came, we were surprised. Nothing going on till 10 o'clock in the morning, maybe not even a cafe open.
People going to work. That's
Maybe,
about it.
maybe even a little bit of that. But after that and all the way, every night, after 12 and around, it's happening,
So
and we
people
just-
start
we don't
later
do
here.
that. We don't do that, so we miss that part.
You're early risers. You wake up early.
No, we're old.
Yeah. No, also that.
AKA old. Okay.
No,
No,
in the
we're
U.S., business starts at 7. You have to be at work by 8 in most places. So you're already functioning by
It's very
7.
busy in the morning. Yeah. And I thought it was funny that the convenience stores, there's so many and they're stocked perfectly. But there was whole rows of get over your hangover material. And that's a hint right there. That's a hint.
Koreans definitely they like to drink.
Yeah. You know what? My daughter was here, Nikki was here. And Nikki said, Mom, I feel just so liberated and safe here. You don't have that sense. It's like something was lifted from you.
I feel the same way.
Yeah, did you feel that way?
Yeah.
I felt that way.
You don't have to watch over your shoulder when you're walking,
No, or even you leave your stuff down. Not all the time, but yeah, it was fine. I also think I wasn't crazy about the snacks. There's rows and rows of chip-like products. I wasn't familiar, but there was a lot. So they like their snacks, that's for sure.
What do you think about Korean weddings?
I think the whole wedding thing is a tribute to Korean efficiency.
And that too.
There's a beginning, a middle, and an end, and that's
there's
it.
another.
And there's not only this whole, industry. It's a huge industry. The pre, the post, the presents, the showers. It goes on. And my family really liked it.
Korean weddings, short and sweet.
To the point.
Yeah, that was great.
No wasted time. Okay.
Right.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts, opinions, feedback, experience, and all of the above. What's one thing you think that Koreans don't realize how beautiful is about their country or culture?
The things that I think I noticed is that I think the Korean language it's like so sweet sounding. And I think one of the main things about Korea is that the scenery is so dramatic. And that's really amazing. So like one city you're in, it's like the tombs with the greenery and the hills, and then suddenly you're in the mountains, and I think that was really beautiful. And that's all over the country. It's all different in all the different places.
Also the the feeling between everyone here.
Yeah.
I think especially with the older people, like I love spending time in more quieter areas where people really care for you and people look out for you. Even though, like, I'm obviously not from Korea, like...
You're not?
No, surprise!
Hey guys, how's it going? It's Sean. I'm here today in Kyongju, Gyeongsangdo. I'm interested in talking with people living here, working here, visiting here, Kyongju. What do they think about this fantastic city? What are the biggest differences of Kyongju and Seoul? There's so many fun things to do and see here. I can't wait to get on the street and start talking with people. Let's do it. Hey, how's it going? What's your name and where are you from?
I'm Charlotte, I'm from England.
What brings you to Korea? Are you living here? Are you traveling here?
I'm living here. I've lived here for over 4 years as a teacher.
Super cool. I guess you like living in Korea.
Yeah, it's really cool. The vibe is just really lovely. The mountains are beautiful. The people are really nice.
Absolutely.
My name is Kevin. I'm from Switzerland.
So what brings you to Korea? Why did you choose to come here?
It's mostly for vacation. Most interesting thing for me, the war. I like history.
Yeah, right. The Korean War.
The Korean War, right. I was in DMC, yes, in my first week.
I'm Mila, I'm from France.
And I'm Lucy, I'm from Australia.
Cool, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
What brought you to Korea? Why did you choose to come here?
So I was here initially because I have a lot of friends in Seoul that study in Seoul. Then I wanted to go to Busan to take the ferry for Fukuoka. So I just like passed by Kyongju, of course.
So I went to Japan and I just love the style of traveling. I think you can do quite a similar style of traveling in Korea. And because I'm by myself at Seoul, it's so safe here and it's a really safe way to explore the culture and you can do things by yourself. And
I'm JC Yoder and I'm from the United States.
I'm Kathleen Little and I'm from the United States.
What originally brought you to Korea?
Work. I work up in at an international school in Suwon.
How long have you been in Korea?
This is my 5th year.
And I work also at an international school in
Cool.
Seoul.
My name is Fabio. Nice to meet you. I'm from Portugal. Well, I've been here for a week and I'm loving it.
Where you guys are from, like what is the general perception, the idea, the kind of image of Korea? What do they associate South Korea with?
Probably food.
Yeah.
Food.
We have a couple Korean restaurants in our area, so I think like the food has started to take off there too.
What are your personal favorite Korean foods?
I'd say minus the galbi.
Ooh, cheese.
Yeah.
Good one, good one.
Bibimbap.
Ooh.
I guess mostly it's the K-pop or
Right.
K-pop Demon Hunters is so popular right now, right?
Did you watch it?
I did 2 times.
Guilty.
Yeah. Of course you had to.
General idea is that they are lovely people, hospitable, lovely, friendly.
Oh, K-pop, obviously, I
K-pop.
think. Yeah, in France it's very, very big.
the food as well. I think Korea has really
Korean
good
food.
It is really good.
Yeah. What's your favorite Korean food?
Well, I'm vegetarian, but I think the best food is the fried chicken. Everyone talks about the fried chicken. I haven't had it, but I've heard it's really
I have to report you.
Yeah, I know. What's like the tofu stew soup?
순두부찌개.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I tried this just in Andong and it was so good.
So we're in Kyongju right now. We're in this beautiful area called the Hwangridan-gil. And what surprised you when you first came to Kyongju?
It's super busy.
Yeah.
So many people come here. But the buildings are so traditional and you can find some really calm, quiet places like the tombs and like out in the countryside.
I take it you've been here a few times.
Yeah, 4 or 5 times,
So
yeah.
you keep coming back.
Yeah, definitely. It's close to both of my homes that I've lived in. It's just there's so many cool places to visit, whether it's like out in the countryside, like pensions and places there, or to the cafes and the restaurants here. Like there's so much to do.
I loved all the history.
Yeah.
I guess we weren't really thinking that whenever we came, but we've absolutely loved it. So much history here.
It's calmness. It's not so much as a vibrant Seoul, but more the calm, the sense of relaxation you have from we just came from this morning from the Bulgaksa temple, which is awesome and different from the vibrant and exciting Seoul. So it's also a good contrast and something nice to see. There's a lot to see in Kyongju. The tomb site as well, the observatory, the oldest one in Asia.
Yep.
We're loving it so far.
What surprised you when you got to Kyongju?
I think it's very, very much more cultural than Seoul. So it's very like brand new and everything is so like modern. And here you have like a long street with like more cultural vibe. So when I get like in Seoul, I was like, there is not like very like cultural architecture and everything. So
it's just a massive city.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed like this kind of like the spectrum,
vibe.
In South Korea here,
The tombs were probably the thing that caught my eye, especially because coming from Seoul, there's not a lot of like parkland. It seems like you said like quite a modern culture with the contemporary art museum and things like that. So it was like there was more to do than I expected maybe.
Right on. How do you think Kyongju differs from Seoul?
Like I love the mix of like the town, right? But then there's so much nature and so much like big park areas and the mountains, and it feels more untouched than I would say Seoul does. So it has that more small town feel. We've loved the Hanok areas, and I feel like that has been more preserved here than some of the places that have them in Seoul.
It's so easy to go into the countryside from here, and I find Seoul there's everyone there. Like it doesn't feel as much as Korea as Kyongju does. Kyongju feels like super Korean, and so like you can come here and see all the traditional things, and yet have slight modern things too, but you can still see much more traditional Korean things in Seoul.
Maybe Kyongju is an orange and Seoul is an orange latte.
I guess so. Yeah, that's a really interesting. It's definitely, I think the traditional spirit is still here, even though there's all the traditional things. There's the drone shows, there's the light shows, bike tours, like everything you can do is kind of with a modern twist. So it's cool vibes.
If Seoul is like London, Kyongju is like where?
I guess my hometown in England is like in Yorkshire area. So Yorkshire has a lot of like tradition with the like castles and like a lot of countryside. But so I guess could be similar vibes to Yorkshire maybe.
Kyongju seems more like Bordeaux to me.
Okay.
Like the wine culture, like more like very cultural style, just like small town but very popular.
Charleston?
You would compare Kyongju to Charleston, South Carolina. What is Charleston like?
Well, it has a lot of the histories and a lot of the old buildings, and it does have a bunch of like the nature to it as well as like city feel.
Leiria.
And what is that famous for?
Leiria is a famous historical, small city, more or less, but historical. A lot of old monuments, home of several historical from the prehistorical kingdom days in Portugal.
Yeah, right.
Calm, not so known, but still with more or less the same vibrant history.
Did you know that APEC was taking place here in Kyongju this week?
Not originally. As soon as I came in, there's like everyone is dressed ready for it, like at the train station.
Yeah.
And you can see everyone setting up, so now I've realized.
APEC, I told you a little bit about it earlier. It's just like, a bunch of leaders from all around the world meeting, talking about trade, working on like the relationships between the countries. Do you think Kyongju is a good choice in Korea for this kind of thing?
Definitely.
Yeah,
definitely. I think before I came to Korea, I didn't know anything about Kyongju. I knew Seoul. I guess I knew Busan maybe, but I didn't really know any of the places. And Kyongju has such important history, and it's where in the past, so many important events happen. So it should continue. I think Seoul is a great place, but there's so much more to Korea than Seoul. So
bingo.
Yeah. I think Kyongju is a perfect place for it. Definitely.
They say Kyongju is a museum without walls.
Exactly. I definitely think that too.
Oh yeah. I think it's a very good choice because like there is so many stuff to do in Seoul still, like, and it's not like very the vibe I think for like cultural stuff, and cultural like area in Seoul are very, very crowded, and I feel like here it's more like open and
I think it's a unique choice, and that it offers a different kind of style and a different vision of Korea than a lot of people would probably expect. I think a lot of people would expect more of Seoul or the Busan feel, but having it here has a little more of a historical type vibe and a little more of a small town. I think it gives you a different view of Korea.
I wonder why is it in Kyongju?
Because Kyongju has like a history of peace kind of a treaty area.
Yeah.
Kyongju also was the old capital of Korea,
Yeah.
the Shilla dynasty. And Kyongju, has a lot of beautiful nature, history, but they're like really trying to push this, forward moving kind of, we have a good future here too.
Nice.
And they want to decentralize too. Too many.
It's not like the only.
It's not the only place. Yeah.
I think it sounds like a good idea because I have heard that a majority of the population and stuff live in Seoul, right? So we need to bring attention to the other places in the
Bingo.
country.
What's one thing you think that Koreans don't realize how beautiful is about their country or culture?
The things that I think I noticed is that I think the Korean language it's like so sweet sounding. So I love hearing, and it's like a language that you don't really get exposed to that much. I mean, except for K-pop. Guilty, I don't listen to it, obviously. Not giving away my answer.
Okay.
But I think the language is really cute. And I think one of the main things about Korea is that the scenery is so dramatic. And that's really amazing. So like one city you're in, it's like this, it's like the tombs with the greenery and the hills, and then suddenly you're in the mountains. And like yesterday I went through a hike and there was like, you went through a pine forest and it was all, I don't know, shadowy and dark. I think that was really beautiful, and that's all over the country. It's all different in all the different places.
I like how they restaurate their buildings, the old buildings.
I like the richness of their culture and how much it has stayed. They tribute a lot of the Joseon era and just different older eras, whereas I feel like that's gotten lost a lot in other cultures. I feel like you don't see it as much with the US, where you have such a rich history of culture, and I think you see that more here, and they have a lot of it still presented and very public and in the spotlight. And the diversity that such a small country has. Just there's a ton of diversity, and I don't think that it's always seen, but it's really, really neat.
From the Portuguese people, from my perspective, they're so educated and polite to each other. We are too, but not in such a meaningful way that they are. They respect each other. The fact that they vow. As an outsider, I think that was one of the major things that I enjoyed.
A sense of respect.
For the eldest, for the youngest, for everyone. Yes. The fact that public transportations have a specific site for pregnant women, for older people that younger people don't use.
Yeah, it's empty.
It's always empty. The entire organization of the country is highly advanced, so it's one of the things that I like the most.
Yeah.
I'd say like physically the mountains and the countryside.
Yeah.
And also the like the feeling between everyone here.
Yeah.
I think especially with the older people, like I love spending time in more like quieter areas where people really care for you and people look out for you. Even though like I'm obviously not from Korea, like
You're not?
no, surprise. So I think it's really lovely that people will look after you, like even when you know nothing.
All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching this video. Did you enjoy it? If so, let us know in the comments down below. Once again, I'm Sean, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye. Hey guys, how's it going? It's Sean. So I'm here now in Seoul, South Korea, and I'm asking people living, working, studying, traveling here, what are some aspects of being in Korea that were new, they were shocking, but you've successfully adapted to these things? And on the other side, what are some things that you're still struggling to get used to? This is a very interesting video. I know you guys are going to enjoy it. Without further ado, let's begin.
Hi, I'm Victoria. I'm from Italy.
What's something about living in Korea that you were not used to at first? It was kind of surprising, but now you're thinking, I like this. I can get used to this. This is not so bad.
It came to my mind one particular thing. Actually, in Europe, when you enter to somewhere, in a place, and there is someone behind you, you just hold the door for the other person. But here, they don't do that. Yeah, it's not that they don't care, it's just not their culture to do that.
Yeah, they don't think about it.
Yeah, they don't think about it. And actually, I adapt to this thing so well because sometimes I really forget to, give attention to people, but not just because I'm tired. And so, but they don't care. They don't think you're rude. So, that's fine. Oh, thank God.
You know, what I find is so interesting is that people say that Korea is very collectivist, worry about the neighborhood, the tribe, the group. But things like this where you're like holding the door, we're talking to people in the street, it's very much like isolated.
Yeah.
Like you're alone, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna bother you, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna talk to you.
Yeah.
Whereas in America, people say everybody's an individual, I'm my own person, it's me, you, me, them, they. But at the same time, holding the door thing for random people is more of a thing. It's kind of like a paradox, right?
Yeah, it's a paradox, but I think it's just part of the culture. Like here, they have such a introvert culture. Okay, I don't disturb you, you don't disturb me. But I think it's just a thing that comes from the history, you know. It's like when you ask me why Italians do hands gesture, I don't know, it's just like this. We were born like this. It's nothing that you cannot do. It's just culture.
My name is Alison and I'm from France. The toilets in the subway.
Okay.
They're clean. They're clean. You can actually go to the toilet in the subway. It's impossible to do that in France.
What do you mean?
We're kind of dirty, I would say. No, but I mean, people don't take care of the things, you know.
I would say some parts of the US are similar. Yeah.
People don't take care of the things, so you can't get free things like this because or else it will be a mess. So that's the thing that I like. And it's free also, it's free. It's free.
The bathroom's not free in France?
If you go to the mall, sometimes you have to pay.
To use the bathroom?
Yeah. In some part, yes.
Actually, it was the same in Italy. When I lived there, you gotta pay, not everywhere, but some places you gotta pay to use the bathroom.
Yeah, it's the same in France, yeah.
My name is Luna and I'm from France. I like the little area, like when you can go inside, like when you wait the bus, like if it's cold outside, like you can go in.
Oh yeah,
and it's warm.
on the bus stops.
Yeah, I think that's cool.
Those are really nice.
It's going well. I'm Kyle from Seattle, Washington. So I'd say at the restaurants, you don't have to wait for the bill. They just like give it to you right up front, and then so you're ready to go and pay, as soon as you want. And I love that because I don't like, sitting around once I'm done with my meal to go, to wait for the waiter to bring my bill. I like it just going at my own pace with that.
No tips either.
I like that part too.
I like that. I don't hate it.
Yeah, the tips are going up and up in America. Like they expect it to go up and up. Now,
what's the percentage now?
So was that 15 was like a standard? Now like the standard is 18.
So you're expected to pay at least 18% tip on most service industries like restaurants, haircut, delivery, ordering a pizza, Uber.
Yes, everything. Everything.
I'm Kennedy.
My name's Raf. We're from Los Angeles, California. I mean, I would just say like the weather first and foremost has been amazing. Like the fact that it's this sunny, but then it's this temperature is really nice, especially coming from Los Angeles. If it looks like this, it'd be 85 degrees, 90 degrees. So that's very comforting.
That's a sick jacket, by the way.
I appreciate it, man. I like yours too. I like the driving style here too. It's like a good mix of aggression, but also like everybody knows what's going on. People, in my opinion, have the appropriate amount of aggression that it takes to drive collectively.
People often do say that it is a bit aggressive here, but whenever in a taxi or I'm driving, I've never really had an issue. No accidents.
Passive, slow drivers, the traffic is worse. I don't know. I don't appreciate it. I like people that just want to get to where they're going. So I would say that's been really cool to see.
I really like that tax is included in the price of everything.
Oh yeah, that's big time.
That's awesome. And they like round it up. So
Right.
it's like a clean number for you to just pay.
Yep.
Exactly. That's great. And in the US you have to tip because people don't get paid enough working in food service or something.
Yeah.
Right.
But
Because the business owner just doesn't want to pay them.
right,
basically.
right.
Hey, how's it going? What's your name? Where are you from?
I'm Izzy and I'm from Manchester in the UK. I actually love how safe I feel walking around. Even something as small as walking around using maps on my phone. Obviously because I'm here on my own, I'm relying on that. But normally in most cities in the UK, you just whip out your phone, you hold it close to you, and then you put it away as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Because it's quite common to have your phone snatched out.
Even while you're walking like that?
Yeah.
Does this lift it from you?
Yeah. I've not at any point felt unsafe, and it feels very clean. And yeah, especially as a solo female traveller, I felt particularly safe here.
Yeah, right on.
Which I could get used to.
Is that more or less than China or Taiwan, or the same? Or
I imagine that I would feel slightly more unsafe in Beijing than I do here. Yeah.
I'm Federico. I'm from Italy. The thing I like the most here, like the first thing, is like how people are amazingly honest. Last time we were in a bar outside drinking, and the people next to us just like left their phone and wallet on the table and went to the toilet in the middle of like there was a lot of people around, and nobody's stealing you. Like you can leave your phone. I can put my phone like on the there, and nobody gonna take it. Like if you do it in Paris, like 2 minutes is gone. It's gone. I feel like they're very like welcoming in a sense, because like they don't try to cheat you. In Italy, I mean, the people cheat tourists because like they don't understand. Here they are so transparent with you.
So they don't take advantage of tourists.
Yeah, not much, I think.
That's really cool.
There are probably also here,
but less.
What's
something that you can't really see yourself getting used to? It's tough to get used to this aspect of living in Korea.
I know it's a thing that Koreans don't do on purpose, but I really don't like, but it's just a personal thing, when they speak English to you, even though I speak Korean to them. Now, I know they want to practice English, I totally understand, but I want to feel like one of you. Like, yeah, I want to feel included. For me, feeling included, I know maybe it's a stupid thing, but for me, feeling included
Makes
is
sense.
like, it's like speaking Korean with you and maybe be part of that friendship that you have also with Korean friends. There are some people who speak to me in English at first, of course, because they don't know that I speak Korean. But then I speak Korean, they're all, 안녕하세요. 진짜 한국어 잘하시네요. 이렇게. And, yeah, 이렇게. So they're really friendly. But you know, there are some people who forcefully want to speak in English.
Here's the thing, though. I totally agree with you. I've been here for 11 years. I'm the same. But 99% of people that come here don't speak Korean. So you're the exception. That's the fact.
That's why I think like this.
That's why they do it. Because you're a language learner and you live here.
I totally understand. I'm sorry, Koreans. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Love it. That doesn't mean your experience and your feeling is wrong. But Korea is unique because if you compare it to where I'm from in the US or Japan even, I don't know about Italy, I wonder about that. If I'm a foreigner going to the US, everybody speaks to me in English.
Right.
If I go to Japan, even in the airport, they're speaking to me in Japanese. Korea is a bit different. They'll speak to you in English.
Right.
Not Korean.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. How is Italy?
They speak to you with hands and you want to eat this.
Is this a big thing here in Italy?
Yeah, Koreans know a lot this. I was shocked when I tell Koreans that I'm Italian. They say, oh, and they do like this. I was shocked. Do you even know what it means? For anyone who doesn't know, it means what do you want?
That's what it means. What are some things that you are having trouble getting used to?
Crossing.
Yeah,
crossing here, because like you need to wait. Like in France, we don't care. Like if there's no car, like we just pass. Like it's long, so I'm like, okay, there's no cars, but I can pass.
So if there's no cars, the street is empty. You just walk.
Yeah, but
here,
no.
Even if the street is empty, you gotta wait for the light. Is it frustrating?
Yeah.
Not putting toilet paper in the toilet. Throwing toilet paper in the garbage bin next to the toilet.
Yeah.
It's stinky.
Not used to it.
Not used to it at all.
Yeah, okay. The great answer. Yeah. The bathrooms, there's a few things in the bathrooms. They have those like soap on a stick.
Yes, the soap on a stick
I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
I've never seen that, but
lots of bar soap.
Everything is very logical here. Everything makes sense in terms of like just even like the push to open the doors. I don't know. Everything is just like very thought out. So I would say I haven't really had anything where I'm like, why is it like this?
Okay, I'll give you another one then.
All right.
I'll give you one more.
You gave me so many for the positive.
Yeah,
he's heard this from me plenty of times, but the metal chopsticks.
Oh yeah.
They get too hot.
Get too hot.
You put it in the soup, and then you put it in your mouth, and it's so hot.
That's a really interesting point.
Just saying. And the spoons.
And the shape is a little, it's not as easy to use as I would say like a square.
Yeah.
Like a square wooden chopstick. The flat metal is definitely, there's a skill gap.
Right, a skill gap.
A little bit.
Skill gap.
Because the East Asian countries, they all use different chopsticks.
Yes.
Does your Chinese family use different chopsticks?
100%. Yeah.
Longer ones, right?
Not necessarily longer, but either wooden or plastic.
Yeah.
But metal was new to me when we started dating. It was so hot.
You went to his house, there's metal chopsticks.
Right, yeah.
Sometimes the food, I find that like they put too much like sugary things.
A lot of people say that.
Inside the food, and like it's just like mixing up too much salt and sugar. Like when you expect salty thing and you get sugary thing, is not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
This is like kind of uncomfortable to me, but like it's minor, you know.
As an Italian, have you tried the pizza here?
I did have a slice, yes, because I'm vegetarian also. This is
You're vegetarian, okay.
Which is a big problem here because they put meat in everywhere. So once I was like kind of forced to take a slice of pizza because there was the only like dish without meat.
Cool. Was it okay?
Yeah, I mean, it was a different thing. I mean, I'm not judging. Like, I'm Italian.
You're Italian.
I just like, okay.
The birthplace of pizza.
Yeah, it's like another. Yeah, but like it's another dish. They cook their way. I'm not judging.
Korean pizza. Yeah.
Exactly, it's just Korean pizza. How they like it.
You got a good mentality.
Thank you.
Maybe the AC on the subway because it's really, really cold.
Koreans like AC a lot.
Yeah, they like AC a lot. But I don't blame them. They're used to it. So in France, you don't have the AC like on the subway. I mean, not that much though. So yeah.
Koreans hate being hot.
I think so.
I love actually living here. Koreans are fantastic. I want to say hi to my hotel colleagues who I love a lot. Thank you for including me. I love you.
All right, everybody, thank you so much for watching this video. Did you enjoy it? If so, please let me know in the comments down below. Once again, I'm Sean, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.